misodzi muri kuiona here? Musaitsvake pamatama iyo takapukuta kudhara asi mumwoyo ichiri kuyerera tashaya tishu ringagone kuiomesa. Misodzi muri kuiona here? Iri kubuda continuous kunge munhu aisirwa vicks mumaskara. Muri kuvaona here avo? Muvaudze kuti zvanzi hamuna kutsika tint asi makatsika dye. Makatigura kunorira everyday kunge ngoma yepanhau. Mukavaona muvaudze kuti vakamhanya makarimwa makacultivatwa. Mukavaona muvaudze kuti zvanzi toshora vakakupai sando makaroverera Jesu. Muti zvanzi we hope the long arm of the law ichakupai zimbama rinodzora meno. Mukavaona muvaudze.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Feel Good Podcast, a show where we tackle society's marmots with your host, Miss Clara. Make sure you never miss an episode by just clicking that subscribe button. This podcast is made possible by you, my listeners. So yes, please be sure to like this episode and share our page so that, we continue to grow in numbers. So today we're going to be tackling autism. In today's intro was a snippet by The Street Poet. Do check him out on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as The Street Poet. Right. So today I said we're talking about autism. It is also known as ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder. Some of you might have heard about it, or maybe for you, some of you it's the first time, but just don't worry about it. We're going to explore it today. Joining me today is Mr. Fungai Kauchambe. He's an applied behavioral analyst therapist. So be sure to check him out on Facebook. There you will know more about him and the work he does. Mr. Carl, welcome to Feel Good Podcast and thank you for being here. How are you? And in brief, just tell me about yourself the therapist parts about yourself, that is, and the type of therapy that you administer.
Hey, thank you, Miss Clara, for having me on your Feel Good Podcast. My name is Fungai Kauchambe. I'm an applied behavior analyst and I do applied behavior analysis therapy, which is a therapy that provides change to behavior that is seen as negative and to change that to positive behavior. So with ABA, it's a scientific-based form of therapy which has gone through vigorous and thorough research and produces results. Thus, it's very efficient. We work with the children on a one-on-one basis, so it's easier to identify and really work through with the child to get a better understanding and get a better feel of the child's needs and what we need to do. Applied behavior analysis, or ABA, is based on the school of thought of the behaviorist teaching of classic conditioning. For those who do psychology, they know what classic conditioning is. It's fun and it does work. And using the teachings of classic conditioning, ABA has based all its studies and practices on that, and it yields results. And that is what ABA therapy offers: positive change to negative behaviors and helps with development of skills.
Okay, well that's quite educational. I'm pretty sure I learned a lot, and you listeners, I'm pretty sure you got something. Right, so today I said we're going to be talking about autism in particular. So as an ABA therapist, in your own words, what is autism?
Good. Thank you for the first question. Autism is now referred to as autism spectrum disorder, and this is a developmental disability that can cause significant social, communication, and behavioral challenges in an individual. With the causes of autism spectrum disorder, we do not know or the causes of ASD, but through research, people have noticed that there are many different factors that may cause one to develop ASD, and these include environmental, biological, and genetic factors. So at the moment, that's what scientists have identified as probable causes of autism spectrum disorder.
Okay, so from what he said, autism is a developmental disability and it affects how a person communicates and relates to other people. It also affects how a person makes sense of the world around them. Right. It is a spectrum condition in the sense that yes, people with autism they may share certain difficulties, but the difficulties will affect them in a different way. Now, my next question is, what are the causes of autism? How is it a genetic disease, or what really happens? What are the causes of autism?
With the causes of autism spectrum disorder, we do not know all the causes of ASD, but through research, people have noticed that there are many different factors that may cause one to develop ASD, and these include environmental, biological, and genetic factors. So at the moment, that's what scientists have identified as probable causes of autism spectrum disorder.
Okay. Well, it is also said to be caused by abnormalities in brain structure, rather brain function. Well, moving on, what are the effects of autism?
In terms of effects of autism, individuals face certain deficits. As for one, deficits in social-emotional reciprocity. So normally when we're talking about this, we look at individuals who find it difficult to have a back and forth communication with other individuals.
In summary, they can be easily broken down into behavioral. You can have poor eye contact, self-harm, inappropriate social interaction, and psychological effects. Sometimes one is not in sync with their emotions, and it is said that sometimes there is sensitivity to sound. Children born to older parents are at a high risk of having autism. Parents who have a child with ASD have a 2 to 18% chance of having a child who is also affected. So mathematically, the chances are slim. Now, does autism go away with age or does it worsen? Because it is touted that early autism may not last a long lifetime. So does it go away or it worsens with age?
Does it get worse or go away with age? If one gets help and that autism spectrum disorder is diagnosed at a young age, and diagnosis normally happens at the child at 36 months, and from then on, if one gets the therapy they need or assistance they need, it does get better when the individual grows up. That's why we say that it's good that it gets diagnosed early and one gets assistance as early as possible, and that will give a child better chance of developing self-dependence on their skills, rather than having friends, peers, or family do things for them. So with autism spectrum disorder, the quicker one gets assistance, the better it is for the individual in the future.
All right. Well, I understand that there are 5 different types of autism. Which one is the most common? Because I only know of 3 or 2, There's pervasive development disorder and there's childhood disintegrative disorder. Not knowing if it's one and the same thing, or I really don't know. Can you just help me know more?
Can't say there's a common type of autism, but there are different disorders within the autism spectrum disorders, such as Asperger's disorders or pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, known as PDD-NOS. That's the abbreviation for it. So there's no common or type of autism. They fall under autism spectrum disorder. So they're all diagnosed under one umbrella, which is autism spectrum disorder.
All right, that's quite an eye-opener. Now I understand why it's called autism spectrum disorder. Now, apart from being consistent, or rather sticking to a certain schedule, how do you take care of a person with autism?
How do you care for a person with autism spectrum disorder? With my interaction with families, some find it hard to cope with individuals because they don't understand. As we touched upon that autism affects the child in different ways, socially, play-wise. They have repetitive behavior. So with family members, they find it hard to take care of individuals with autism, and this is where applied behavioral analyst therapy comes in. We assist in helping families address those issues through our programs that we offer the child, and this will help both the child and the parent to look after the child and to take care of the child, as we always strive to, if the child has problematic behavior, we try and address those behaviors and help the child communicate appropriately what they want and need.
Okay, some of the other things to note: you need to be able to reward for good behavior, and also you need to respect their desire for personal space. Knowledge is power, so educating yourself about autism is very, very, very important. The signs sometimes are really hard to note in a highly functional person. Well, in as much as you might want to see it as a disability, people with autism have strengths too. They are strong visual and auditory learners. They grasp things in detail. Moving on, when dealing with a person with autism, what can you expect, or what should you expect?
When dealing with an individual with autism, you can expect a whole lot of different things. As you know, when one doesn't communicate or express what they want, it's hard to understand what they want or need. So with individuals, it varies. Some can talk and communicate, but up to a certain level, as it will be repetitive conversations back and forth. When asked certain questions, some come and they can't communicate. So you can't expect the same from each child, because as you know, each individual is different. So with the child with autism, it's just the same. You don't know what to expect until they come in, and during the therapy, you get to know the individual and where they need assistance. And in there, you also learn from them as much as they learn from you. So it's a two-way street, and it's a fun adventure when you actually do sit down and talk to an individual with autism. though it does come with its challenges here and there.
Right, so be able to establish proper rapport and be patient. Be very patient. So, apart from therapy, are there other treatment methods for autism?
Applied behavior analysis is a notable treatment approach for people with autism spectrum disorder, and it's been widely accepted amongst healthcare professionals and used in many schools and treatment clinics, as it's been found to be an effective way of helping individuals with autism. ABA encourages positive behaviors and discourages negative behaviors to improve a variety of one's skills. And to what helps most with ABA is that we track and measure everything we do with the child, so we see if there's any improvements and where it needs to be improved through tracking and measuring. And there are many different types of ways we measure and take our data as we do each therapy session. So ABA is known to be very effective, and within ABA we incorporate other techniques which may be used in other forms of treatment or aspects which help with individuals with autism, as we use devices and assistive technology. So this, when we use devices as tabs, and we download apps which the child can play and learn using, or can also use tabs as a way of communication with certain apps that we can put so with the child can use to communicate with individuals or their family. And with other forms of the treatment, one can also see an occupational therapist, who I'd advise that for diagnosis you go and find what the child needs, and once you've seen a professional, please do seek assistance. There's also social skills training and speech therapy. Then there's also the dietary approach, because some of our kids face problems when they eat certain foods. So there's some biomedical interventions out there which call for changes of diet, and which means the child gets certain foods removed from the child's diet, and dietary treatments based on the idea of food allergies and lack of vitamins and minerals that are said to cause symptoms of ASD. So that's another thing, the dietary approach. There is no medication or cure for ASD, and so here there are certain medications that are used for children with ASD, which manage high energy levels, inability to focus, anxiety, depression, behavioral reactivity, and self-injury or seizures. So after, some doctors may ask parents if they're willing to take a medical approach. This is also quite helpful. Then the last form of treatment is complementary and alternative medicine treatments, which refer to products and services that are used in addition to instead of traditional medicine. There might be special diets and dietary supplements and other treatments which normally which help and will not have any negative side effects on the child if the parent is not comfortable with medical assistance. And those are the other forms of therapy or treatment, may I say, that are used to deal with individuals with autism spectrum disorder.
Right, okay, that was a lot of information today, just right there. Thank you very, very, very much for your time. And in brief, please do leave something for people living with autism or people caring for people with autism.
I would like to say to people with individuals with autism, there's hope out there and there's hope. We can help. Autism doesn't mean hopelessness and hopelessness. There is hope and there is a way that each child can gain independence if he or she gets the right therapy or help. And if the caregivers, parents do seek help, there is hope for the child with autism.
Right, thank you for joining us on this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share our page. Please send through questions. You can leave them in our comment section and I'll review them in our next episode. Yeah, please visit our other platforms as well. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram as Feel Good Podcast. A big thank you to Mkukuji Media and your listeners. Remember, our experiences are all unique. Regardless, it is important to find the beautiful. Recognize that there is bad, ugly, and disrespect. Sometimes there are meltdowns and ignorance, but remember, those things are inevitable. And be sure to find the good in everything. Appreciate diversity. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.